Oh no. Is this just not cured yet? It should have been dry already. Well, we'll see what happens here, but I have a bad feeling I'm doing this tomorrow instead.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jen, and you've made it over here to Copper Cactus DIY. This is my home for all things furniture restoration, furniture flips, painting furniture, and faux finishing. In today's video, I'm going to take you with me on the road. I'm going to go do some thrift hunting as well as some curbside find hunting. So if videos like this are your jam, then you're definitely going to want to subscribe and click that bell to all so you don't miss any of my future uploads. I try to post once a week, and I would absolutely love to have you join for the fun time party. But I'm just going to stop yammering now and get inside to a couple of these thrift stores. I hope you enjoy this video. Click like if you do, and let's just go. Stop one.
I couldn't record my reactions in the store because of overhead music. No copyright strikes here. But I was pretty encouraged to see the variety in furniture pieces, and the pieces weren't bad either. I found this small stool and some new-to-me painting clothes for the fall and winter. I didn't feel comfortable filming at some random person's house for my curbside find, so more on this in a minute. Alright, now that I'm back from my adventures, let's see what I got. First of all, found this little puppy on a side of the road. And then this piece was the one I got from the thrift store, which you guys just saw. And this was super inexpensive, $3.49. Obviously all this weird masking tape on the side, and it's just kind of destroyed. So my guess is someone just built this from like scraps in their garage, and that's fine because I'm going to completely try to restore it and do something cute on the top. I'm gonna get started like I always do with projects by cleaning it with some warm soapy water, nice and clean. This one being a curbside find, I don't know really what the deal is, plus the other one's a thrift flip, so we're gonna look super cute in our I'm mining for uranium in Back to the Future kitchen gloves. I brushed off the wicker piece with the dust broom. It looked like it had been outside for most of its life, so I got the cobwebs, the dust, and some of the bigger bits off before coming in with my soapy water. And yeah, I kinda drowned this thing in soapy water. Wicker can take some moisture, and this was wrapped and secured everywhere really well, so I scrubbed, but I did it as gently as possible. I don't know if you guys can see that, but ew, that is just one pass. I'm actually going to take this thing outside and hose it down and then leave it in the sun to dry. I feel like that'll probably be okay here in Phoenix. The stuff is on there pretty well, so it should be good. I used super light pressure with the garden hose sprayer, and I removed all the soapy residue. While the shelf dried out, I started on this small stool. First order of business was to remove the masking tape from around the edge. Then I got the price sticker and assessed the legs. Since I couldn't seem to remove the loose leg easily, I moved on to thoroughly scrubbing this piece with degreasing soap and a rag. This is why we clean before we do anything, because it's not bad, but even that one little tiny piece, ew. Then I wiped it down with a damp rag and I left it to dry. Then I grabbed a 100 grit sanding disc and my Craftsman random orbital, and I took off the entire top layer of paint. I couldn't tell what those black stripes were from. It looked like someone had placed tape on top that got peeled off later and then painted over. It only took about 10 minutes to sand this whole piece, and I could see what I had to work with. But unfortunately, the power of my nose told me this probably was once in a bathroom. So I wore a respirator the whole time, and I even cleaned with that thing on.
I'm going to pull this staple nail. This I'll just try to hammer in or take out, and then I can just put that back in there, and I'll use just glue, and it should be good to go.
I only scuff sanded the underside and all the legs. I used the orbital on the flat parts where it would reach, and the rest I did by hand using a 220 grit sanding disc. Because of my suspicions about this piece's former life, I used a soapy rag to wipe down the entire piece. I also wiped down my drop cloth and my orbital sander. But I still wasn't taking off that mask until I left the garage to air out for a while. I used my needle nose pliers to pull the staple and the nail. I wasn't concerned with damaging the wood because they were both in there so shallow, I figured it might chip, but it wouldn't completely destroy it. The staple went pretty fast, but
crying out loud. Come on, man. Manhandle it. Oh, no. At least that's through there. So this should come out now. There we go. There we go. Right, we don't want to lose that.
I dry fit to make sure it fit. Grabbed my Titebond 3 and flooded the tenon and the mortise hole. I pushed the leg into place, flipped the piece over, and stepped on it to marry the pieces together with the glue.
Okay, now I'm going to just let that dry. Because I don't want to deal with the smells coming out of this thing, I'm going to use some Bullseye shellac in clear.
I did 2 coats of shellac, but I couldn't use my usual spray box because it's just too small. I did the rest of this piece and the second coat off camera in a new spray box that you'll get to see in a minute. While the shellac dried, I took a 220 grit sanding disc and ran a light scuff sand across the entire shelf. I'm not trying to remove any finish or go down deep into this thing or anything, I just want to give a tooth for my spray paint to adhere to. If you guys haven't seen my video from a few weeks ago where I painted my side table for the sofa, then I will link to that down below and at the end of this video. In that video, I had raw wood to work with, but today I'm gonna match that by doing some faux finishing. To do the painting on this piece, I'm gonna be using Faux Effects Set Coat in the color Khaki on the top and on the feet,
I'll be using Melange Artisan Mineral Paints in the color Vagabond Blue. And to apply these paints, I will be using 2 synthetic brushes. These are angled Purdy brushes, 1.5 inch.
I mixed up the set coat really well, then I got one solid coat on the top and edges of this stool. I even flipped it to get the underside at least sealed in because I wanted to make sure I covered all of the shellac. Then I got my melange stirred up and I added 1 coat to all 4 legs. I was going for a drip-free but very solid coat, not for coverage on coat 1. And while the stool dried, I got back to the shelf again.
Alright, to spray paint this shelf, I am using my Krylon Indoor Outdoor in gloss in Bauhaus Gold. This one's almost empty, so I do have a second can, because I'm not taking chances in this one. The thing I really love about this is that it dries in, can you see that? Yes, you can, 10 minutes or less, which is great. I can get all the coats on today.
So, what do you think of my new spray box, eh? Super fancy, right? Yup. Peeps, one of these days I'll pick up a small spray tent, but for now, this is what I've got to work with, so this is what I use. The paint went on fine, and I coated everything because I'm planning a faux wood effect on these shelves too, so the yellow base will help that really come to life. I did the other side and the second coat off camera. I did a second really even coat of set coat and melange. Then I left it to dry overnight.
Okay, like I mentioned, I'm going to be using this Faux Effect Stain and Seal in Van Dyke Brown. This comes in a 2-ounce tube as basically like a sample, or they sell it in larger sizes as well. But I'm just going to use this in full strength, and I'm just going on the shelves and these little edges. So I'm going to do my best with my 1-inch angled Purdy. This is a synthetic brush. That's the best to use to apply. Oh no. Is this just not cured yet? It should have been dry already. Well, we'll see what happens here, but I have a bad feeling I'm doing this tomorrow instead. What the frick? Okay, let's try to get that off of there. Yeah, boo. Well, I guess it needs to cure overnight, maybe. I'm so glad this is water cleanup stain. Well, these are the realities of painting. Sometimes you thought it was ready, even though it isn't. Okay, well, for now then, there's nothing I can really do except wait it out a little longer. Maybe I'll just wait overnight, see what happens. Okay, so I let this thing sit overnight, and it feels smooth, but not like great. It's kind of sticky. I don't know. We're gonna see what happens. I'm gonna try again with my stain and seal. Let's just give it a try.
I used my 1-inch brush because I wanted it to be a little bit floppier, and this one is. I really like a looser packed brush when I'm pulling a faux bois. I think it really helps with the variation in the thickness of the graining. I was so happy with how this applied on my take 2. There weren't any spots pulling back like the day before. So I stayed full strength on this stain and seal, and I got a really good solid coat on. The bottom was a bit thicker because my brush kind of struggled to fit, so I added a bit of depth to the top shelf with some random darker spots for cohesion. I used an artist brush and slow strokes to get a coat on the small trim detail. Then I left the shelf to dry and I got back to the stool again.
I'm going to use Faux Effects Stain and Seal Antique Pine on this one because I want it to match that table, and this is what I used on that.
I started with the edges and I pulled it in the same way that I did with the shelf. I'm trying to use a loose hand and a light pull of the brush. I did keep this stain at full strength, but I tried to apply a somewhat thin coat for the first coat. Then I moved on to the top. When I'm doing a finish like this on a small piece where the edges meet at a corner, I like to start in the middle of the area that I plan to coat and in from the edge by a couple of inches. That way I can pull the product out to the edges and I won't risk gloopy drips messing up that finished edge. Then, before the stain skins over, I pull through with the bristles for the graining look I'm going for. I repeat that across the top, working each section back into the wet edge of the last section, and I added some deeper areas randomly across the top. I left this to dry overnight, and I did a second coat off camera the next morning.
To top coat this piece, I'm going to be using Helmsman from Minwax in a clear satin finish.
All I had left to do was to put on a coat of Faux Effects Varnish Plus in satin on the stool. This is my favorite satin top coat because if you apply it evenly and you don't pull it back once it starts to skin over, it self-levels out to a beautiful sheen. And with that, these curbside and thrift store flips were done. So, what do you think? Leave me a comment and let me know which one you like the best. I love them both, but I gotta say I'm kinda partial to the stool. And I'm pretty excited to have only spent about $3.50 to pick up both of these pieces. Plus, since I had all these products on hand, that made these some really inexpensive projects to complete. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done that already. I like to do furniture flips, furniture makeovers, restoration, and faux finishing, and I try to be here every week. And speaking of restoration, here's a quick sneak peek at what I'm going to be working on next week. This is my husband's sofa side table, and I can't wait to fully restore this piece. But that's all I've got for you today. Thanks so much for being here and watching. Later, peeps!
Get off my f***ing car, bird. Creeper.
I can open it. It's always my biggest issue is opening the freaking glue. Hello, glue. Oh my god, you're okay. Really, Rock? Please get out of my shoe.
And with that, these curbside and flip store flips.